All righty, boys and girls, welcome back to a jubilant. I don't think there's been a more jubilant episode of the Red, White, Claret, and Blue show. Not jubilant for Chris. He missed a lot. And will unfortunately miss this one too. So you are stuck with your solo host, the one and only I am Alex Paquero, your solo American villain voice, as always, serving up the lukewarmest of lukewarm opinions, probably extra lukewarm without Chris here. Don't at me. Before we get into it, please go like, follow, rate, review, subscribe, all the places below my singular face. God, what a day. What a day. We're gonna dispatch with how I'm doing in my personal life. There is nothing more exciting than what is going on at Aston Villa Football Club right now. The amount of messages that I received from Forest fans, from not Forest fans, from coworkers, from friends, from relatives, it's truly amazing. Villa in a European final. We cannot bury the lead here, and likely to be favored in said European final. I honestly thought we'd say this for the Conference League, and the years since being what they are. I don't necessarily want to poo-poo the Conference League, but let's be honest, it's a manufactured tournament. There's not a lot of history there, but winning the Europa League is genuinely something serious that I think all Villa fans can get really excited about. If we do win it, something we can be incredibly proud about. And in a couple Wednesdays, it sucks that it's on a Wednesday afternoon here in the States, Wednesday evening in Europe, where people got to work the next day. We'll be out in force at our pub. Hope all you listeners will be at your respective pubs as well. God, yeah, we're riding off vibes on this one. We'll get to a little bit of a preview of Burnley at the end, because I do think that match has some very interesting importance moving forward. But let's talk about the tie where we turned it all around. And listen, I will hold both hands up right now and say Chris and I were so wrong about this one. I don't think we were wrong for feeling the way that we felt leading into this, but oh my God, did it not manifest the way that we expected it to. And there are some key tactical reasons why I think that might be the case. First off, brilliant by Unai Emery to play Victor Lindelof in the holding midfield position. There was a lot of discourse online leading up to the match. I think even the CBS broadcast here in America had it as a back five. Clearly, they don't watch Villa the way that we all do, because there are two things that were absolutely true when you saw Victor Lindelof in the lineup. Victor Lindelof has played more minutes for Aston Villa, and they haven't been a lot, but he has played more minutes for Villa at defensive midfielder as a late game sub or something of the sort than Aston Villa have played in a back five under Unai Emery. Does not happen. Unai Emery plays with a back four. He is very committed to his system. While he might switch some personnel, he is not switching his system leading into this game. So it was very obvious to me when I saw the lineup that Victor Lindelof was going to be a defensive midfielder. And, I didn't hate it. If Amadou Onana is not available, Bogard come into a lot of criticism for the match over the weekend when no one really looked good. Hasn't necessarily set the world alight in his last few appearances. I don't necessarily think he's been as bad as some other Villa fans maybe think that he is. I just think he's not Boubacar Kamara or Amadou Onana, who are two excellent footballers. He's a very young player. He's got a long way to go in that respect. But that being said, come under some criticism, clearly had a difficult time. This is a high-pressure game. I don't hate the idea by Unai Emery to go with a very experienced international footballer in Victor Lindelof. And you know what? Gotta start the episode by giving him his plaudits, giving him his flowers, because he did not put a foot wrong the entire night. I thought he was mobile. I thought he snuffed out play well. I thought that he was tidy on the ball and able to pass it around when we needed to. He was able to play out of pressure. Villa still didn't have to do it often because the ball was not often in our defensive half. But when we did need to play through the press, He was an effective part of that. And so, shouts out to Victor Lindelof. Also, shouts out to Tony. You said while we were in the pub today, maybe your most underrated signing of the season. I think you meant across the league. I would agree with you. The minutes that he's given Villa have been excellent. I cannot fault him for really anything that's gone wrong in nearly any game that he's been a part of. It's been an extremely astute signing, and I really do hope that he sticks around for another year, because as a utility player who can play right center back, right back, and defensive midfield, especially with the injuries that we typically get at defensive midfield, I think that that is an incredibly valuable asset. So thank you to Victor Lindelof. Let's talk about the match a little bit, though, because first 35 minutes, I would say that there was a fairly predictable pattern that was settling in. And that was Villa were pressing aggressively. And this is the first time that Villa have pressed aggressively. I mean, arguably maybe all season. But it's something that they pick and choose when they utilize. We've utilized it against Manchester City a few different times. When Villa are able to cause turnovers high up the pitch and really use their athleticism to put teams under pressure, they make other teams look the way that Tottenham made Aston Villa look on Sunday. They make them look unnerved. They make them look unable to get out of their own half. And I think Forest, that really took them by surprise. Forest really were able to play through what little Villa press there was last week. They really had no problems getting into the attacking half and really dominating the ball once they got there. And so I think Villa turning it around a little bit on them once they got home and saying, you know what, no, we're going to get up in your face. We're going to press you high up the pitch. We're going to cause turnovers and we're going to put you under pressure. I think really took Forest by surprise. Now, that led to a couple shots, couple early shots. I think we felt really confident that Villa at least were creating opportunities early. We didn't want to, as Chris and I said, we couldn't let this game lag and start to fall into maybe what has been a typical Villa pattern over the past handful of matches, just slow, plodding, methodical, testing teams out, all that kind of stuff, because the crowd could get anxious, the crowd could get toxic, and the players didn't really need that. So, we advocated for a fast start, and that's exactly what we got. Villa hopped right on them, took a bunch of early shots, got a bunch of early corners, but nothing was really manifesting. The opportunities were decent, but I wouldn't say that any felt gilt edged. As I drink my celebratory bourbon, and so, admittedly, I did start to get a little bit worried. I keep going back to, it was probably a little bit of commentator's curse, but in our first match against Tottenham this year, at the start of the second half, match was tied, if I remember correctly. And it seemed like Spurs were just teeing off on the Villa goal, getting corners, getting shots, but nothing really manifesting. And so the announcer, the commentator said, Spurs have done everything but score in these minutes, and you need to take advantage of these opportunities when you're on top, particularly against Aston Villa, because they can turn the tide the other way and really make you pay for it. And that's ultimately what happened. And Villa rolled to victory, kind of rode out that period of time, and then ultimately got a comfortable win out of it. And so I was concerned that Villa weren't making the most of their time being on top. They were getting the opportunities, that we were feeling good, but we know even without Morgan Gibbs-White, even without Callum Hudson-Odoi, the pace and danger that Forest bring on the break, and Chris Wood's ability over the course of the past 18 months to score off of one cross. And so I was worried that Villa were going to have all this dominance and then get kind of sucker punched the other way, and then tie would be done. Luckily, Emiliano Buendia came to save the day. And that first assist that he gets to a bandaged up Ollie Watkins, who looks like a World War I veteran, or I guess a guy coming off the front in the war with that bandage around his head. Emi Buendia's ability to hop on that ball, the clever kind of 3-touch to get through the defenders, and then the patience. He sees the run. You see him look up. He sees the run from Ali. He waits, he waits, he waits, and he puts the ball on a platter for him. He makes that whole thing happen. Um, that is Emi Buendia at his best. Take a bow. He's someone who gets a lot of criticism from the Aston Villa fan base. And listen, I get it. We've said it on this podcast. Should he be starting 15 matches in a row for this team? Absolutely not. But the man has close to 15 goal contributions this year across all competitions. And that is nothing to sneeze at. He's been immense for this team this year. He's come up with clutch goals. He's come up with important goals. He's come up with incredibly important assists, as we saw today. And so ultimately, if and when he does choose to leave Villa, by the way, respect to him for sticking it out and being willing to fight for his place this year. For this one alone, the last minute goal versus Arsenal, he should absolutely go with all of our good graces. I'm now to keep this kind of lukewarm, like moving forward, there's this question of like, is there a place for him in this lineup? To me, he is the perfect super sub spot starter. The energy that he brings, his relentless pressing, his Argentinian determination. I mean, he was single-handedly just harrying Forest guys all over the park today and really causing a bunch of turnovers. He was pivotal to Villa finding success the way that they did. I can't imagine anyone else putting in the lineup, putting in the shift that he did to create the opportunities, to create the turnovers, to create what he did. If he is still on the roster as a 60th minute super sub, as a spot starter, I'm completely happy for him to stick around personally. And I think I speak for Chris when I say that the Red, White, Claret, and Blue show would be very happy for him to stick around as well. And finally, we have someone who can put away a penalty. First off, great job by Pau Torres. Listen, he was yanked down. It's absolutely a pen. Wasn't remotely close, but requires someone to actually fall down and sell that. And I think he does a great job of it. Referee goes over, clear as day, calls the penalty. Little bit of indication for the fact that Anderson shouldn't even have been on the pitch today. Jared Cunha goes over the top of the ball on Emi Buendia. Probably also could have been red carded today, but we'll take the penalty. Emi Buendia puts it right in the corner. Perfect penalty. We're all feeling really good. And then John McGinn happens. And, these were two clutch goals. But even before the goals, John McGinn had an excellent day. Really used a quick burst of pace multiple times to beat his man down the right-hand side and get some crosses in. Using his butt to perfection for the little turns that he always does. I know it was talked about on the broadcast, his ability to shield the ball potentially better than anybody else in the world right now. I thought he was fantastic. I mentioned Pau earlier, but I want to take a pause because Pau offensively, obviously we always talk about his range of passing. Pau's reading of the field defensively today was fantastic. He snuffed everything out. Every time that Forest started to get a little bit of a break, he was there. He was intercepting. He was strong, winning headers, clearance headers. He almost had a goal in very early on in the first half, had a looping header that I initially thought was going to hit the bar, but I actually think now probably would have gone in, but for a great hand by Ortega. Great to see him back in the lineup. Phenomenal player, and I would be so sad to lose him. He's so crucial to everything that we do. Thought Ali was fantastic today after another down few matches. He came out, he really seemed determined. Obviously gets the header where he smashes his face open, puts the bandage on, and just the shift that he put in defensively more than anything. We always talk about his willingness to press, his willingness to be a runner, the way that he'll harry people, but this was a different level for Ollie Watkins. You see in the second half him chasing the Forest player down into our own corner. Just love to see that from him. I'm really glad that he got a goal. He seemed pumped up by it. really seemed to appreciate the occasion that we were playing for. And so, shouts out to Ollie Watkins for that one. Um, Mentioned Emi Buendia, my man of the match. I mean, we don't get into a position to win that one without him. I wouldn't hate it if you picked John McGinn or Pau Torres, but yeah, I'm going with Emi Buendia for mine. Um, what else? What else is there to talk about? I mean, it was a fantastic performance by everyone. Hat tip to Unai Emery, I guess. We were very concerned coming out of Spurs that Unai got this wrong. That by rotating, by essentially telling the team, like, don't exert yourselves too much. We've got a bigger game coming on Thursday. Um, that he heaped a little too much pressure on the team, that we really were up against it, and Forest were coming into the game full of confidence. But he trained, according to Jacob Tanswell, he trained this Lindelof wrinkle all week long. He clearly had a plan to counter what Forest wanted to do. And I think that Forest and Vitor Pereira, I mean, like, look at all the games that they've won. Absolutely great job by them over the coming weeks. They looked confused. They looked completely befuddled. They looked completely unable to push the ball forward, and every bit the relegation candidate that they've been all year long. And that is not a knock on Nottingham Forest to say that they are a relegation candidate. I think that is credit to Unai Emery and Aston Villa to make a team that's looked like one of the hottest teams in the league look like relegation fodder. Um, he really knew how to take them by surprise. They barely got the ball into Villa's half. They did had that early opportunity by Omari Hutchinson, and I don't know what the final stats on the game were in terms of shots on target, but like, I to me, that looked like the only shot that they got all game long. Emi Martinez really didn't need to do much outside of the very end when he got kind of bumped. Did he need to do any of his usual S housing? And that's because Villa were just dominant from minute one. We've been saying on this podcast, we're waiting for the opportunity for Villa to just put their foot on someone's throats and say, nah, this is our game. You are not going to touch the ball for 90 minutes. And man, what a hell of a time for Villa to finally put that performance together. Probably our best performance of the season, considering the weight of the occasion, the importance of the occasion. Really fantastic to get it, and you know what? Whatever happens in terms of how we limp out of this season, certainly a night for us to be really, really, really proud of. Uh, as usual for us, since everything has been so positive, we need to end on a negative to make this a little more lukewarm. Morgan Rogers needs a rest. 1 through 11, there was one guy on there who didn't really get anything done, and that was Morgan Rogers. I'm I am not one of the people that's going to all of a sudden start spouting off that he's already got his move, that he doesn't care about the team anymore. I think the dude's tired. He's played more minutes than anybody else in the league. I think he quite literally has played more minutes than anyone else in the league, and he is exhausted. And this is certainly a question that we can ask of Unai Emery, of when you were so clearly rotating the squad against Spurs, why did Morgan Rogers still have to play and play as many minutes as he did? But he did, and I think we're starting to see the effects of that fatigue. So we'll see what happens against Burnley. I do expect him to be out there given the importance of that win. But I do wonder if he'll wind up being rested against Liverpool so that he's ready for the final. We'll need to see. And that is what we are looking forward to next. A final. Villa are in. Now listen, we've been in FA Cup finals that we really I hate to say we had no hope of winning, but like the ones against Arsenal, the ones at the League Cup against City, like we had no hope in a lot of those. But in recent memory, this is the first final that we're going to that I really feel like, God damn, we got a real shot here. And I'm so excited for 13 days from now, May 20th, for us to be there in Istanbul. To play this match, and just treasure these years, guys, because like we said last pod, this is certainly an aging squad. Unai Emery has wrung every last bit of victory and talent out of them. Who knows how long this will last with them, with John McGinn, with Ollie Watkins, who has been with Matty Cash, who has been here forever, with Emi Martinez, who's been here forever, and with Unai Emery. So we'll show up to our pub, we'll be in full voice, and man, I cannot wait for that game. But like right now, we are on cloud nine. Now, before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about Burnley, and honestly, there's not a lot to say here. It's away, it's Sunday, it's 9 a.m. Eastern time. Manager's gone. Michael Jackson, he is in to manage them through the rest of the season. Don't really know much. Couldn't really find much about his philosophy as a manager. I think with them already being relegated, they're kind of coasting out of the year now. God, Turf Moor used to be a really tough place to go. Really tough place to play. They've got 11 points at home, compared to 8, 9 away. Not really that different. They've actually scored more goals away from home. I guess they've been a little more stout defensively at home. They're waiting for the year to end, man. And listen, there's always this debate of once a team is relegated, the infamous words of Julian Lescott, is there a weight lifted and all of a sudden they start playing better? You could look at Burnley's match against Man City a couple weeks ago, the 1-0 loss, and say, hey, they really frustrated them. They tried to play some stuff. They did okay. That's fair. Every other game around that, they've been getting curb stomped by everybody. So how much of that is a fluke, them wanting to kind of have a say in the title race? This is a game that Villa have to be winning, and I know we said that against Spurs. I know we said that against Fulham. I know that we've said that in a number of games over the second half of this season that Villa ultimately haven't won. And listen, it is tough to get back up for a regular league match right after the euphoria of absolutely destroying a rival on a European stage to get to a final. But hopefully, if Unai Emery is the manager that we think he is turning back around. I've seen some quotes that he's at least said publicly to this effect, but hopefully he's saying the same thing in the locker room of, listen, guys, we still need to win to qualify for Champions League. Sure, we've got 4 games to do it, theoretically, but this is one that we have to win. All the more so because with the Champions League, with the Europa League final occurring between the final 2 match weeks of the season, that Liverpool game becomes incredibly intriguing and could very much become another version of the Spurs match where we play a heavily rotated squad that isn't really going gung-ho because we've got a final in 3-4 days. And I would fully back them to do that. Unless we're saying that like a loss in our last two matches, absolutely 100%, we're behind. We need those points to get Champions League. I would rest it all to get the Champions League through the Europa League final because I want that trophy. Probably not the smart decision, but it is the decision that I would make. And so this Burnley match has to be 3 points. This is a final before our final, and it's so annoying when you come down the stretch and managers are like, this is 7 cup finals for us before the end of the season. But this one is a final. This win could really put it out of reach and with results around us, obviously guarantee us Champions League football. So the team has a very, very short window to turn around, get refocused, get re-energized, and put this thing to bed. And then once they do, pending other results, if you don't really need to worry about Liverpool or City in the last couple of weeks of the season, can just put all your attention on that final roughly 10 days later, man, I think that's the best case scenario for everything. So is Burnley going to come out with reckless abandon? Maybe. I don't I don't see it. I don't necessarily think it's going to be the easiest game around, but I'm still looking at a 2-1 Villa victory up there in Turf Moor. In terms of lineup, I actually don't think we'll see a lot different from what we saw today. Um, I do think that Lamar Bogard might come back into the starting lineup, and I think that we'll see Ian Matson instead of Luka Dean to get him a little bit of a rest. But everything else, I think, will probably stay consistent. Um, does maybe Morgan Rogers push out wide in favor of Ross Barkley to give Emi Buendia a little blow? I could certainly see that being a move as well. But I think the lineup will stay pretty consistent because I think Unai will want his best team out there to get 3 points in this one, and I really hope that we do, and we just feel super confident, almost euphoric going into that Liverpool match, and then the cup final. So that's all we got. YouTube shout outs. Paul Kelly. We had some Forest and Spurs fans hop in the comments over the past couple days. And as always, Black Country Villain. And we'll give you the refrain again. Send us those songs, my friend. We're very excited to hear them. For everybody else, happy Mother's Day on Sunday. Really looking forward to this Burnley match. And once again, take a moment, soak it all in. Villa are back in a European Cup final. As always, up the Villa. Hi, Mom and Dad.